everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today is Monday, March 14th, and we are doing a new series of reviews of award-winning movies who won Academy Awards. So, Academy Award-winning movies.
But what award specifically? 'Cause
Academy Award Oscar-winning movies from the year that the Academy Awards started until like last year.
Well, actually, they're Best Picture winners. They're not just Academy Award winning movies.
I said that. Okay.
You said Academy Award winning.
I said that before. You were not listening.
No, I was listening.
Oh my God. Anyway, so Marco picked out a few, and I picked out a few. We're not doing them all. We just thought we'd do like a week's worth. And today we start out with the movie Marty. Now Marco's getting me confused. Marty is another movie that was put out by Alfred Hitchcock, and it was in color. And this is not Marty, it is Marty. And Marty is a butcher who is played by the very famous actor Ernest Borgnine. And this movie came out in 1955. And unfortunately, that happens to be the year that I was born. I call it the double nickel. So, I felt like it was a play, more like a play, rather than a full-length movie, but it was a pretty good movie. The way movies are now, you wonder how and ever could they get an Academy Award for the Best Picture. Because last year...
Well, now it's just a political choice. It's not an actual choice based on quality.
I don't know what it is anymore, but I'm confused. Even the political part escapes me.
Really?
Frankly. Yes, because last year
homeless people.
It was nomad land.
Homeless people.
I have people I know who are van lifers, and they put out YouTube videos just about every single day. And I have been watching them for the last couple of years, and their videos of what they do, their travels, people they meet, the problems or challenges they face, they're a lot better than that movie. And maybe even a single YouTube video that comes out in a day was better than that whole movie. The movie was boring, and I didn't like it.
But Safi, the thing is that it's all about an issue. It's a big issue.
Well, okay.
People not being able to afford a home, so they have to be van lifers.
That is not why they all become van lifers.
But that was the specific story, and so that's the issue.
Well,
and so
that was a problem for me.
It's an issue, and so that means it's the Best Picture because it's important.
Well, that was really a fallacy because from what I gather, a lot of van lifers do it because they choose to do it. It saves on money, and they get to travel, and they can work remotely. See, that's probably a key to it, too.
It's very dangerous.
Work remotely.
It's very dangerous because, Safi, do you remember Count Yorga Vampire, Safi?
Oh my God.
Do you remember that? That was really scary.
Marco, I don't know what you're talking about.
Remember that the couple, they're in the van, and then the guy goes out to check what the noise is, and then Count Yorga opens up the van and comes in there and kills her? I mean, that was pretty scary. I mean, what if there's vampires running around?
I don't think any of the van lifers I watched videos of were worried about vampires. And they all take safety precautions. And so about where they park and when they leave and a lot of different things go into it. But we're not going to dwell on that. We're supposed to be talking about Marty, who stars Ernest Borgnine. And it seemed like a very short, compact movie. In fact, you have this guy, he's Italian, He lives with his mother. He's a butcher. And I guess the running issue with him is one, he wants a girlfriend, I think. And then another issue, though, is he's a butcher in a shop he's worked at for years, and the guy who owns the shop is retiring and wants to move out of town, maybe to Florida, or he just wants to stop doing his business. And he wants to sell it, and I think he wants Marty to buy the business. And so that's another issue. And Marco can talk about the other issues of the movie. There isn't real. It's pretty simple, basic movie.
And let's be clear. This was Safi's choice.
It was my choice because I thought it was. I've never seen it. I've never seen this movie before, and when I looked through the list of movies to pick out, and I thought, it was just like movies of the last few years that were kind of
garbage.
And I really, I don't know, for the most part, it seems like it's a pattern. It's been going on ever since they made the category, that the movies that they pick out are really kind of, they're just not, I'm not very enthusiastic about them. I mean, let's look at the movie E.T. when that came out. That's a pretty, that was pretty special. Everybody's excited. They wanted to go see it. Or how about the very first Star Wars movie and the two ones that came right after? These are the earliest ones, okay? People were excited. They would stand in lines. They would stretch outside around the edges of the building, huge lines, to go see these movies. I mean, they were very excited about them. And Jaws is another one. Everybody's very excited about that one. And the music and it really enhanced the action of the shark attacking people. But anyway, these movies, though, that I read that got the awards, I have seen a few, but they're just, for the most part, they're just very unexciting.
Well, let's get back to the movie we're supposed to be reviewing. Okay, so I'm going to actually talk about the movie now. This was Safi's choice, and I say that because I was going to pick this movie, but I had a feeling that Safi would probably pick it. That's probably one of the choices that she would predictably pick, and I thought that she had seen it before, so it's pretty funny that she didn't, because it would be a pretty significant movie back then. And one of the biggest red flags of the movie is that it was based on a TV episode where it was like only 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And I could really tell that because I was really enjoying the movie, seeing this guy who's from some show called McKell's Navy and seeing him. And I thought that he's a really good actor. He's a very good leading man. He's the type of star we need today, not these stupid
weaklings.
Instagram models like Young Iron Boy and The Rock. They're such terrible actors, and they're such a disgrace to film. And but this guy, he's actually really good. And you know that they never cast a guy who looks like him nowadays in a leading role because of...
Well, what about Jack Black?
Jack Black stars in movies nowadays?
He's been in movies, but not a lot.
Yeah, he's in small movies now. He's not in any big movies. I guess he's in Jumanji, but he's not really the star. The star is who? Safi?
I guess...
The Rock.
I haven't seen any of those yet.
The Rock and that redheaded girl. They're the stars, and then he's in the background. Okay, so don't give me that crap, because he's not starring in any big movies, and neither would this guy nowadays. They wouldn't have even had McKell's Navy today. They would have had some show called you see that stupid SEAL show, a Navy SEAL show, with the fucking guy from Bates Motel. That's exactly the type of shit they make nowadays. But this movie, the problem was that as I was getting on with the movie and getting through it, I started to realize that like this movie has a very strange structure, a very weird plot structure, because it's basically like an hour of it is just one night, and then the next 30 minutes is the next day. And it's a very weird structure. It's probably one of the weirdest movie structures I've ever seen. I kind of like the whole night though. It's just that there's been other movies and ones that I've seen this year where the whole movie will just take place in one night and a ton more will happen. And so that was sort of a problem for me, was that it felt like this movie, it wasn't really a full movie. It was just like a little tiny TV episode play. Like it felt like this could have been, I don't know. It felt like it was cut off at the end. Like at the end, I was like, WTF? Like this is it? Like this is it? Like a Best Picture? This movie won Best Picture? Doesn't even tell a complete story? I mean, it hints at a complete story at the end, but it doesn't really tell a complete story. But it's still really good. I mean, it really... it's not even really a movie that's fun to, like, discuss, because it's such a personal movie. It's a movie that really everyone will have their own little view of it, whether they like it or they don't like it. And so it really is like a very... It's weird that it won Best Picture. That's really weird. The acting was really good, though. The dialogue was really good. The romance was really good. So it was really good, but it lacked a completeness for me. It kind of felt like like an appetizer or something. Like when you go to, or like let's say when you go to the, oh okay, that'll be my food review. I almost gave away my food review. And Safi, what else did you think about this movie? Are you still upset about Marty? What do you think about the movie?
At first I was aggravated because we have this, I think he's 34. And the thing about ages was a lot different back then, because the girl was 29 and they were talking like she was going to be, quote, an old maid, and that kind of stuff just doesn't fly anymore.
Well, it should fly.
And that him being 34 and not married, that wouldn't be a problem nowadays either.
Well, actually, it is a problem. There's tons of feminazis who complain about that.
Well,
they do.
I haven't heard it.
They call them man children and say because they're not married, they're man children who are too immature to be in a relationship, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
and
anyway,
so they still complain.
I don't know what... anyway, they kept asking him, everybody he would meet, he's a butcher, so, the public would go into his shop and order cuts of meat. And so he would see a lot of the people in the neighborhood. He would see people in his own family. And almost everybody would say, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? His brother, he had a lot of siblings. And he had a little brother who had gotten married, what was it, like a week before. And so he said, oh, my brother so-and-so just got married a week ago. It was such a nice affair. We had really good food, and it was a real big event, but that really annoyed me. It drove me nuts.
Oh, I knew it would.
And
then the stuff in the third act as well.
I said, I can't stand this. And then another thing they were doing, and this is another thing I was confused about. Not because of the movie, but because I couldn't figure out what do these men want. They would call all these women dogs, and there was a whole thing with him and the girl he was out with. Well, people were calling her a, quote, dog.
Well,
and I just what is, so if there's a girl, and they like this girl, and she's not a, quote, dog, what does that mean? She has to dress up like a slut
Well,
and wear 10 tons of makeup and wear spike heels and
I don't know.
I just couldn't figure out this dog business.
It was very jarring because I was expecting a woman, the main love interest. I didn't know who was cast. I didn't know anything about the movie. I thought that the love interest would look more like one of the women in the dance hall, like the one that he asked to dance. I thought that she would look like her.
And she was a B.I.T.
Yeah, she was a C-U-N-T.
Horrible woman. He asked her to. All he wanted to do is ask her to dance. He didn't want to have an affair with her, and she just really blew him off. And he didn't want to go here. His mother went on and on. You stay home all the time. You're never going to get married. And here she is, going on and on. And she was one of the people like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to meet somebody? You never bring anybody home. On and on and on. Like, drove me insane. And so she said, and she found out from another one of his relatives, a man, who said they would all go to this dance hall. And it was gigantic. It was like a big auditorium, and all these people were dancing. And I think I remember my parents met at, not at a place like that, but I heard about these places. They went at the roller rink or something, another social place where people would meet up. And, but anyway, and he said, I don't want to go. I'm sick of going there, and people are mean, and they hurt my feelings, and I feel ugly.
Just imagine if they made a movie like that nowadays. All the feminazis would criticize it and say that he's a toxic man.
He was being honest because he was tired of being rejected, and he just didn't want to go through it. But because she said something, and he was very kind and very amenable to everyone. And so to be kind and amenable to his mother, he said, okay, Mom, I'm going to put on my suit, because she asked him to put on this special
It's
suit.
not a black suit, it's a blue suit.
Yeah, it's a blue suit.
Which was a lot more favorable back then. You always hear about, put on your blue suit.
So he goes here, even though he doesn't really want to, and his friend, he calls him Ange, which I guess his name is Angelo, which I never heard that, but he calls him Angie. And because this is New York, that area, so they say things differently.
They say things differently?
Anyway, so he goes to this place, and he's standing around. He's kind of like assessing the situation. I'm not talking about there's big spaces. This place is packed, and there's no big spaces where people are, you can almost hardly move. And so he finally gets up the courage to ask this girl to dance, and he just wants to dance. And she's with these other girls, and she just brushes him off and acts like a biatch. And he's like, he's very nice and polite and says, okay, and he moves on, and then he just stood over by himself. But I mean, these things just drove me crazy.
She's lucky that wasn't him from like a mobster movie, because, in a mobster movie, if she did that, he'd probably just have her killed, which would have been a lot funnier.
She probably would have liked him, because that would mean he was a bad boy. That was a theme then. I think sometimes it's a theme today where women only like bad boys because they're mean and aggressive or something.
Well, nowadays women like men who are like women, like with
Marco.
Young Iron Boy. But now I want to get back to my point, which I was interrupted 5 minutes ago when I was trying to make. No, I didn't ask. I was interrupted while I was making a point. And then after I saw that woman who rejected him, the bitch. After I saw her, I thought that his love interest would look like her, but then you see this like kind of weird looking woman and they really dressed her down.
Yeah.
And they made her uglier than she probably was in real life.
She didn't have a lot of makeup on, and she had a very plain outfit.
And it was like they did that kind of on purpose, and it was kind of jarring, because you saw the women in the dance hall they look pretty normal, and then you see her, and it's like, ugh. But what was worse about it was the fact that the whole movie, this Clara girl, I'm not kidding, guys. She makes the same face the entire movie. She's good. I'm not saying she's bad, but the whole movie she makes this like creepy, evil robotic stare. Like she just stares off into space with this like robotic look, and it's like it was very jarring. But then you kind of get used to looking at her, and it's fine, because she's no better looking than the main guy, and so they were a great couple. And there's a very good scene without dialogue where he sees her getting screwed around with by another guy, and there's no dialogue at all. It's just a scene without dialogue, and it's probably the best scene in the movie. And then he gets to know her, and he takes her out, and for like 30 minutes it's just them walking around and talking, and
they go to a cafe,
and then he takes her back to his apartment and everything. And there was a very troubling scene where the sergeant, was he a sergeant? The guy from Gomer Pyle, USMC.
Oh yeah.
He's a guy. He's a funny character in the movie, who's taking these nurses home, and he says that they're for sure ready to hook up, and he offers Marty to come with him and then drop that dog. And he says, "No, I'm not doing that." But it was very worrying, Safi, that he was going to do that.
I know.
Like, if he had done that, if he had left her and then gotten in the car with those nurses, and I would have turned off the movie, honestly. So
he wasn't like that. That's why I say he was a real gentleman. He was very amenable to everybody.
So it's good that they did that, and then. And then after the night is over and she wants to go out with him again, he promises to call her. But then the next day, his friends and his family all criticize her and tell him to stop dating her.
She's not good enough for him.
Which is
pretty... She's not Italian. She's not pretty.
It's pretty
she's
gay.
Not this. She's not that. I'm like,
I mean,
who are you to say who he likes or doesn't like?
Yeah, like his friends were really gay.
It really irritated.
Like saying like, "Oh, you can't date her because
really
she's not good enough," and so I thought that's really gay. Like they're just probably some of the worst friends in a romantic comedy I've ever seen.
All they wanted to do was at the evening they wanted to go down to some street and hang around. What are they hanging around for? What are they going to do? Pick up hookers? I mean, I don't get that. What did they want to do on the street? Like, it's so stupid. They just kept saying that, and he's standing there like, here I was talking. You could see he wasn't saying anything, and they weren't broadcasting that he was talking, and they couldn't hear him. Like, thanks, like they do sometimes in some movies, and you could just see on his face, like, what the hell? Yesterday I had a really good time. Why am I putting up with this BS?
Yeah, there's a great little monologue at the end where he gets pissed off and he's like, I'm not hanging around with you losers anymore.
Yeah.
And then he calls her, and that's literally the end of the movie. It's a very jarring drop-off. It's very, like, just, what? Like, that's the end? So that's why I say it felt like a TV episode, because if this was a show, it would have gone on to the next episode. And I'm not saying it needed, like, hours and hours. I'm just saying, like, it felt incomplete. It really reminded me mostly, if you wanted to make a comparison, it reminded me a lot of the Andy Griffith Show, with the format of, like, you have, like, the episode where Barney keeps on nagging Andy about getting married, and then he gets with the girl, and then she's not good. Remember that? And then she's not good enough for him. That. So it really just reminded me of that episode from Andy Griffith's Show. And then, of course, you have the drama in the third act. So that was the sort of problem for me, was noticing those kind of cliche things. But it was fine for me because they were really showing like a parallel between that and then the beginning of the movie. So I thought that was good. I liked that, the way that you see how they changed their tune, and it's like, oh, now they're gonna criticize the girl that he's going out
I
with.
know, they were all even his friends were saying, "When are you going to get together with the girl? When are you going to do this? When are you going to just all of them in his family? When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? You never bring home a girl." And then he does that. Oh no, she's not what we thought she should be, whatever that is. 10 tons of makeup, wearing stilettos, and well, I don't think they wore mini skirts then, but whatever.
Well, I mean, Safi, what do you think about her? I mean, is she a dog? Well, how would you rate her on a scale from dog to
I don't know. I don't agree with that.
Marilyn Monroe?
I just don't agree with that.
How would you rate her on a scale of 1 to 10?
She wore minimal makeup, and she wore something like she'd wear to work. And I think that's the thing. That
she looked a lot like she just got out of her school teaching.
She was a school teacher, so she's not going to dress up, with tons of makeup and doing her hair and wearing a beautiful clothes to go teach school, high school, chemistry.
And see, that's another parallel to Andy Griffith because she's a teacher like Helen. So see, there's these little things that so that's what I thought about while watching the movie. But Safi, how would you rate her on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's nail that down right now.
I don't believe in that. Okay?
Why?
I just think that they kind of emphasized her. She wore very light makeup, and she wore something like she'd wear to work. She didn't dress up to go to the dance. Like some people might have silk or satin or lace or whatever the style was for the day, or special heels or special evening shoes. She was dressed like more what she'd wear to work. And I just think that they did that on purpose because they were trying to make it and it's a hard thing to do, but they were trying to make her look, quote, different than maybe some of the other women who were more dressed up to go out in the evening, out on the town. And she was not dressed like that. Like some people, when they go out to dinner, maybe they put on a dress or some kind of nice clothing, and they might put on special jewelry, and they might fix their hair up in a special way, or even change their purse or whatever to a more like a satin.
So in other words, you're saying she's a 6.
I don't believe in that. Marco, you can say
Or
whatever you want. I just say that she made herself look, quote, underwhelming.
Or
to show in their own way, because there really isn't much you can do. That would probably be the only way to show that.
She's a New York 3, but she's a 6. That's what you're saying, basically.
I don't know. Anyway.
And then Marty is like a. He looks like a mobster. He looks like a guy who dresses up in a suit and goes, hey,
but he's not
and his
really.
name is like Little Marty or something, and then he kills people and blows their brains out.
He's very nice. They have this situation in the family where his aunt, who's his mother's sister, she has her son and her daughter-in-law living with her, and she drives them up the wall.
Her daughter-in-law kind of looks like a jar of mayonnaise.
She constantly complains and complains and complains, and she doesn't like her. And I've seen this kind of thing before.
Yeah, she is an old maid.
And she can't be an old maid. She got married and had a baby.
But you know what I mean. Like, how old maids are like, yeah.
Well, she was very, bitter. She was like a bitter pill.
She's Mara the bitter woman.
And so they ask her sister, who's Marty's mother, if they live in a big house. And they want to know if she could move in with them because she's messing up their marriage. really. She's having a negative impact on their whole life together. And in order to survive, they wanted to know if her sister would take her in. And so he just she agreed to it, but then she said, I need to ask Marty though, because I want him to be agree to it. And he was like, sure. He was so nice about it.
He probably didn't really even care because
No.
he's in the butcher shop all day anyway.
Right. But I mean,
cutting up dead bodies
she
for
was,
the
God's sake.
for the Fratelli family.
Okay, that's not true at all. So anyway,
But he was cool.
he was very nice about it. He didn't even question it. Not one word.
I would say that is the best thing about the movie, is that you get to see a leading guy like this, who's very different from the mold, and he's very nice,
Very
and
good
he's
person.
a great character. You could really watch him in any movie. Like if they made a movie called like Marty Goes to Hollywood, or Marty Fights Vampires, or Marty in the Wild West, like you could really watch him in any story. And so that's what's really good about his character, is that he's such a perfect character. And the fact that there was a little weakness where you didn't really know a lot about her. She didn't really talk a lot because she just stares the whole movie. Well, there's actually a deleted scene where she goes home and she talks to her father about her whole date, and it's like a 7-minute scene of just her talking.
That's too bad.
And I
They
thought,
didn't show that.
see, that's why this movie felt like it was very short. It was very cut off. It was very rushed.
I thought they were going to show that too.
I know.
I really did. And I was kind of surprised.
They did.
Did I miss something?
Deleted scene.
Oh.
So that's what I think. I think that the movie is good. It's not perfect though. It's not amazing, but it is really good. I mean,
it's very solid, and it's short.
Yeah, but it did it deserve to win Best Picture, Safi?
It depends on what it went up against. And
Well,
what they were like.
sorry, Charlie, but Night of the Hunter was way better than this crap, and the fact that Night of the Hunter wasn't even nominated over this movie is just really bizarre. I mean, Night of the Hunter is easily better than this movie because it literally tells a complete story. So it's way better than this movie. So I think no, it did not deserve to win. Night of the Hunter deserved to win easily.
Did he get a Best Actor, or who got the Best Actor? Do you know?
Marty did.
Oh, so he won Best Actor too.
Best Actor, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Picture.
Wow.
Yeah. So, see, that's why I'm saying wow, because it really didn't deserve all that. It deserved to be nominated. I mean, I'm still glad that it won Best Picture just because it's so unlike what they do nowadays. But I do think that Night of the Hunter deserved to win a lot more than this. Like, it's really jarring, like the difference, the quality difference, because Night of the Hunter is an actual full story, and this is like the first act of a story. So, Safi, how would you rate this Best Picture in terms of food?
I'd rank it a tuna salad. And that's because in tuna salad, you only put like celery and maybe a few onions and some mayonnaise. So it's very basic, unlike chicken salad, which you can put everything but the kitchen sink in it, like nuts and
chocolate chips.
What? No. You can put fruit in it, like grapes,
cranberries,
or apples,
or what was that thing? Where
apples or
raisins,
craisins,
ugh.
And so you can, and then of course celery and onion and mayonnaise, maybe a little mustard. But a tuna salad is a very, very basic salad, and it can be good. It's never been one of my total favorites, but it can hit the spot. I think it's best if you eat it with like a tomato, which is really funny with this movie, because they call the guys there would call the girls that were really whatever you want to be, appealing. They called them tomatoes. So you could have this tuna salad.
I wouldn't call them tomatoes. I would call them baby tomatoes.
I don't know. It's just kind of funny because you can eat tuna salad. It actually does taste good if you put some on like tomato slices and have the salad on a tomato slice. The tomato somehow adds something to it that goes together really well. So, but that's what I rated. What about you?
And he eats spaghetti in the movie, which has
But
tomatoes in it. So they're eating spaghetti. I mean, it's tomato.
Right. Okay.
That's the point. I would rate it. Safi, don't do that. That's really weird. People can hear that on the video, especially if they turn the volume up. So I would rate this movie. I also have to give it something simple. Well, the question is, Safi, would you watch this again?
Maybe.
Yeah, I would watch it again.
I'm not going to rush to go do it, but at least you have a pleasant feeling after you watch it, and you, especially like he was talking about the guy from Gomer Pyle, the sergeant. He's in it as a young man, and he likes to go cruise for chicks and likes to have a good time with them, so to speak. And they wanted him to dump the quote dog and be with them, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that to her. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I as I was saying, I would rate this movie something simple. I was going to rate it a ham and cheese, but I thought that it would actually be best. You know, Kroger used to have great lunches. They had all sorts of things. They had salmon that had salt and pepper and butter and some rosemary or whatever, some fresh spices in a container, and you could just put that in the oven. It would be really good. They had this one container that I'm really pissed, still mad years later that they got rid of. They had this coconut rice with chicken with pineapple sauce, and it was fantastic. But they also had soups that were Kroger specific, and one of them was broccoli cheddar, or wait, was it broccoli cheddar soup, and it was so good. We would get it all the time to eat with dinner. And they also had these great sandwiches, and they'd be these little sandwiches that, you know, they'd be like ham and cheese, roast beef and cheese, Italian. This movie is an Italian Kroger sandwich with their broccoli cheddar soup that they got rid of for some reason. And on a side note, like, it's really weird how Kroger, you know, they have an item that everyone buys and then they get rid of it. And it's like, why are you getting rid of an item that everyone buys? Like, why would you choose to eliminate your most popular items? Like, they got rid of Nesquik drinks, which everyone would buy those, including me, every week. They get rid of everything that people like. And this was one of the things. It was such fantastic soup. It had this rich, cheesy flavor and this nice, soft broccoli. And so you have the soup. And the soup is the girl. Because in order to have a good romantic comedy movie, you have to have a good girl and a good guy. And so she was good, and she really fit with him. And he was really good, and he fit with her. So you have the simple sandwich and the simple soup, and they go together perfectly, and it's a good lunch, and it fills you up. But not too much, because you just have a little cup of soup and a little sandwich. And to be honest, Safi, you know you'd like some more sandwich and soup at the end of the meal, because that's how good it was. So, that's it.
Okay,
Safi?
well, our next movie will be My Fair Lady.
What's that?
What do you mean?
What's it about?
Well, you'll see.
Okay.
And it's a very good movie. It has Audrey Hepburn in it, right?
Ooh.
And,
Is that why you picked it, Safi?
No, I picked it because it has music in it, and it's very the fashion in it is unbelievable, and it's a good story.
Okay.
So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.